So I dropped my truck off at my neighbor's, who lives about a mile away from me, and I'm walking home. And I saw several mullein plant, but this is what's called wild lettuce, and there's a couple of books. There's some more mullein plant right there. That's the first year stage. The second year, it has a stalk. But wild lettuce, in a book called The Lost Ways, but in the book that my friend Jesse bought for me, it talks about wild lettuce and how you chop this up, you boil it, and it has a residue. There's some more wild lettuce right there. But this residue, after you boil it up, you add just enough water to it to boil it, and it produces a thick liquid mixture, a little bit thicker than syrup. And our ancestors would use this stuff. It's supposed to be stronger than morphine. So if you have issues where you get hurt and you can't go to the doctor, such as back during our ancestors' days, back, when they were traveling the Oregon Trail, they used to make medicine out of this plant, wild lettuce. It's distinct between all the other plants because the way it's shaped, it looks like maybe a bug ate half the leaf, but that's the way it grows. And like I said, you chop it up, you boil it, and the byproduct is a medicine that is supposed to be stronger than morphine. So in the country that we're living today, it might be wise to learn about products like this. It might be something that we might have to survive on in the near future. I took a piece of mullein plant and stuck it in my mouth. I did that because I'm having trouble breathing, and I don't have anything to drink. But when I drink something, that mullein plant is going to get mixed in with my liquid that I'm drinking, and then I'll be able to breathe. I use this stuff all the time. It's best fresh. You can make a tea out of it. You could smoke it. You can put it in a dish and burn it, and the fumes will help you breathe. There's all kinds of medicinal uses for mullein plant, but I talked about this before. My mom, she grew up in a sharecropper's family, and they were poor. And there was a guy traveling, and he asked to stay the night with them. They lived out in the country in the middle of nowhere. And my grandparents said, "Yes, you can, but we don't have that much food." He's like, "I'm not worried about food." He goes out the next morning and picks all these plants and cooks it. And my mom said that some of the plants that he cooked up tasted just like bacon. So there's all kinds of plants that God put here on earth for our use. Some people say that when the earth was just created, that people lived on plants. I'm a meat eater myself. I'm going to eat a steak or a hamburger or pork steak or pork chop or whatever. And there's some people out there who are vegan, and they live comfortably without eating meat. But there are all kinds of plants that you can survive on if you know which ones to pick. You know, there's like mushrooms. There's all kinds of mushrooms, and pretty well all mushrooms are edible. There's some more wild lettuce right there. But I have enough to do what I want to do. But as I was saying, pretty well all mushrooms are edible to an extent. You know, some people are allergic to mushrooms, and there are some mushrooms that are poisonous that can kill you, such as the fly agate mushroom, if I'm pronouncing that right. I have a book signed by the authors that I went on a mushroom hunt, and the authors of this book was there. And this book talks about the fly agate, and the farmers would feed their deer this mushroom, and it's a hallucinogen mushroom, and to people it can be very deadly, but the deer would hallucinate, and I think that's where flying reindeer came about. And I forgot to mention, in the state of Missouri, it's illegal to drive around and pick wild flowers, wild plants, etc. And so if you're going to pick this stuff, make sure you got permission from the neighbor's yard that you're picking them from, because you wouldn't want to go to jail or get fined or whatever. This is the aftermath of the rains that we had. All the raccoon tracks, deer tracks, there's all kinds of frogs and crawdads in this little stream. But make sure you get permission or don't get caught. And I want to mention, I told you about the book, The Lost Ways, and the book that my friend bought for me. And I'll show you that book here directly. But the Boy Scouts put out a manual, and it's a 2 or 3 volume, huge manual on everything from tying knots to cleaning hogs to plants. And I've never been in the Boy Scouts. My stepbrother was, but my parents had a copy of this manual, and my older sister got it when my mother passed away. But those manuals are very sought after, and they're very expensive if you can find them. And like I said, they're very thick, huge books that tell you a little bit of everything. there's the start of my property line. I got 9 acres. I lived here since 2008, and I've never seen mullein plant on my property in all that time frame. Well, because I've been collecting it and storing it in a shed and then sweeping the shed floor out, I now have mullein plant growing on my property. Mullein plant loves rocky sides of a ditch. I got a concrete pad on my property, and I had some growing in the cracks of that concrete pad. I went out and picked a few stalks and replanted them on my property, and it didn't take. But the seeds that were in the shed spread throughout my property, and now there's mullein plant growing on my property. First time since 2008. I moved for the first time a few days ago. And there's a mullein plant. There's another smaller stalk around here somewhere. It's up here. There's the mullein plant. I spread some seeds along here because it's nothing but rocks. That's my well head right there. But no mullein plant. I always thought it would have grown. There used to be some in these cracks, but not this year. And here's some mullein plant right up next to my house. Now, according to the instructions, you're supposed to boil this down until there ain't no water left, basically. And then it's going to turn into a thick liquid, kind of like, I don't know, like a syrup, maybe. A little bit thicker than a syrup. But I'm going to do it and put it in a jar, and then when I'm in a lot of pain, I might try it and see what happens. Might kill me, you never know. This is my book, and it's a really good book. Forager's Guide to Wild Boots by Nicole Appling. On this page, it talks about wild lettuce. Key medicinal uses. Wild lettuce sap has anti-digestive, diuretic, and sedative properties. The sap is used for pain relief. How to harvest. Harvest young leaves. Boil 10 to 15 minutes with one water change to remove bitterness. Simmer young leaves and shoots for 10 to 15 minutes until water tastes bitter. Remove from water, saute in butter, and season to taste. The other book I was telling you about, it says boil it and it'll make a paste, but this one's a little bit different. So I guess you can just eat it right away.